everyone. Welcome to this week's NaturoChat.
Mary and I get a lot of questions in the clinic, and it spurs a lot of great conversation between us, but we thought we would share some of that conversation with you. So we're also always wanting to hear from you, so if you have any great ideas for questions that you want us to answer, please send them off to the clinic at info@waterdownclinic.com.
So with Halloween just passing the other day, the day after Halloween is always so scary for us. We hear lots of horror stories coming in from different mums of the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So this week's discussion is going to be, Halloween candy crush. So the topic of discussion is sugar overload. What's the big deal? What's that doing?
Right. So, people say, what is the big deal? It's 2 weeks, one day you go out, get the candy, you eat it for 2 weeks. What's the big hairy deal? Well, my point is always that it's not just the 2 weeks anymore, right? Because our regular diet has become so inundated with sugar and things that very quickly turn into sugar in the body. And we already know how kids are struggling with sugar. So I don't know about you, but I saw a 7-year-old not that long ago who had frank pre-diabetic symptoms, you know, and it's all about, the diet and what's going on in the diet.
So coming back to what Teri said there, so it's not just about, it's one night, you go out, you splurge, and then for the next 2 weeks, you kind of treat yourself here and there every day. I think the take-home message there is you treat yourself every day in one way or another. It may not be a chocolate bar, but it could be the sugar that's coming from your cereal, from your muffin, your toast, right? Your orange juice that you have in the morning with your breakfast.
Even things like fruit roll-ups,
right?
Or marketing does a wonderful job of disguising sugar as things that are good for you.
Right.
So, we've got to make sure that we understand where the sugar's coming from, right?
Right. So I guess the next point we wanted to make or talk about today was, what's that affecting? What's the big deal there?
Right.
So sugar is sugar. It's been part of our diet for X amount of years.
Right. So as naturopaths, we look at the interconnectedness of systems, and you can't put your finger on one thing and not have it affect everything else in the body.
Most definitely.
We know that sugar affects the brain because you feed that child sugar and watch them bounce off the walls, right? So now research has taken it a step further and shows that sugar is actually really involved in frank neurodegeneration, which leads down the road to dementia.
Right.
But we've got the immune system.
Right. Definitely. So we know that a teaspoon of sugar can suppress your immune system for a few hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So think about how many teaspoons are in that candy bar.
Right.
Right.
And then every day in that glass of orange juice or that bowl of cereal, it's interesting to take a look at labels and to see how much sugar. Mike and I, my husband and I, have this discussion all the time because he's a real juice drinker. And the first thing I do, of course, is turn it around and go, there's 28 grams of sugar in 1 cup of this juice, you know. So there's the immune function, right?
There's the gut.
The gut.
Yeah,
you know. Control central of the whole body is the gut, and we beat it up all the time. The brain, the immune system, the gut.
What else have we?
Well, and the blood sugar.
And your blood sugar. Insulin metabolism, right?
Exactly.
So, now we're seeing so much more insulin resistance creeping into teenagers, adolescents, small children.
Right. The young mom age too, 30 to 35. I can't lose this weight. I hear it all the time. It might not be just because you're being lazy. It may be because your metabolism is actually off.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
Right.
So what's yours?
Yes, I've got this thing about sending kids out to beg for candy at strangers' doors, but that's a separate topic. You were talking about buying candy back.
Right. So my solution is if your kids do want to still go out and trick or treat, we'll buy their candy off them. Right. So do an exchange. Take their pillowcase full of candy if they still do that, and give them $20 that they can spend towards their next toy or a night out at the movies or something fun
or something,
that they can put towards something that they're not going to consume and,
Yeah.
and load their bodies with some
Exactly.
toxins.
And another way is just avoid the whole trick-or-treating thing altogether. You know, how about having a party, having a block party, or at the community center, have a big Halloween party, do your own kind of haunted house, or watch a creepy movie, or, you know, get the kids together and have some fun. Sure, you might have, I don't know, some cupcakes or, you know, some treats at that night, but then it doesn't drag on for 2 weeks,
Right,
you know,
right.
and they've still had a blast, right? They
Right.
still have a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing for parents to know that there are some alternatives
Right.
to the typical way you would spend your evening on October 31st and those weeks that follow.
That's right.
So I think our take-home message from this little natural chat today is you set your children's physiology up
Right.
every single day.
You said it, yeah.
So you want to expand on that, Teri?
Well, I think the data is in, and we know, at the risk of sounding like the doom and gloom naturopath, the stats show us that this generation of children is already set up to expire sooner than their parents did.
Yeah. Which
So-
is a very unfortunate thing.
Absolutely. So how can we make their lives the best ever?
Yeah. Right.
As long as possible, as full as possible, cognitively accurate as possible, you know. We know that sugar leads to neurodegeneration. We also know today's statistic is 50% of people over 85 will develop dementia. I don't want to think about what's going to happen in 10 or 15 years if we don't get this sugar epidemic under control.
Or 40 and 50 years
Right.
when our kids become adults, for sure.
Exactly. So
So-
really, the bottom line is let's set them up for the best life possible.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
Thanks for joining us today for NaturoChat.
See you next time.